Michael Crichton was an American doctor, author, screenwriter, director and producer born in 1942. See also Andromeda, Coma, Westworld, Jurassic Park, Runaway, Twister, The 13th Warrior and Sphere. In Paul Williams' uninteresting 1972 R-rated drug comedy drama Dealing, a cookie Harvard graduate has his friend Peter smuggle marijuana from Berkeley to Boston. When Peter's new girlfriend is arrested with a second shipment, they have to take on a corrupt cop and a Cuban gangster to get the shipment and the girl back. Hot stuff for Boston, the German movie title. Nothing could be found on the cost and box office of the independent production is rather loosely based on Michael Crichton's same-named novel from 1970, which also appeared in the same year as a serialized story in the December issue of Playboy, and for which he shared authorship with his brother Douglas. As a result, this was the only time the pseudonym Michael Douglas was used. The readable story is only about simple marijuana. There is neither a Cuban gangster nor the red heroin. The ending is therefore also different. The book ends abruptly at the train station. The last 10 minutes of the movie are not from the original. In the same year, Black Edwards' entertaining The Carey Treatment is about the titular pathologist who, despite strong resistance from the police and doctors, begins his own investigation to clear a surgeon friend of accusation of an illegal abortion resulting in death. Today highly topical again even after 50 years. The Murderer in the White Coat, the German film title, here too no reliable information about budget and box office, is loosely based on Michael Crichton's readable A Case of Need, published in 1968 under the pseudonym Jeffrey Hudson, here in Germany as The Intrigue. Which, with a similar basic story, deals much more extensively with abortion, medical facts and racism. While the movie uses different names, the main character is much more aggressive, quite different and opposite to the book character, and emphasizes the criminal case aspect, and especially in the second half, crazy actions. In Mike Hodges' 1974 horror science fiction thriller The Terminal Man, the highly intelligent, epileptic after a car accident computer scientist Benson, 10 years before Terminator, fears that computer will rise up against humans in the near future. Nevertheless, the AI expert hopes to cure his fainting spells, which are accompanied by violent blackouts that he cannot remember, by having a series of experimental microcomputers inserted into his brain, despite the concerns of his shrink, the real protagonist of the story. After the procedure, he is accidentally not given the prescribed sedatives. Discovering that violence now triggers a pleasure in his brain, he escapes from the hospital and begins triggering his seizures in a controlled manner. The Killer in the Head, the German film title, was only given a limited release in the US after negative test screenings. In some countries like England, it was not released at all, while elsewhere, such as in Japan, it is officially considered a great success. Therefore again, nothing about budget and box office.
You have the bravest heart, the strongest emotions. After all the harm I've caused, you still want my loving. I think I've lost your love. Oh baby, it's a shame, but how can I be mad at you when I'm the one to blame?
The seemingly indecisive art film There's No Soundtrack, Only Variations on a very beautiful but nevertheless completely out of place classical Bach theme is loosely based on Crichton's same-named novel from 1972, published here as End of the Line and in 1974 as a serialized story in the March issue of Playboy. The Jekyll and Hyde scenario is not about mind control, as often misrepresented as Benson acts as a result of his illness, but about supposed technical innovations of which the consequences of its use for us then and now cannot really be foreseen.
You have the bravest bravest heart, the strongest emotions. After all the harm I've caused, you still want my loving.
In the readable original, the title character tries to destroy the mainframe computer in the basement of the hospital and dies after a fight at the hand of his shrink. The adaptation, which is wrong from the outset, director Hodges only uses it here as a vehicle for admittedly very beautiful artistic scenes, completely drops this plotline, and ends rather abruptly in a cemetery where Benson is shot by the police.
I can't believe I still receive so much affection from your side. If you could give me one more chance, I'd love to turn the tide.
In 1994, the family man and head of department of a technology company is fighting in disclosure for his private and professional existence. After he refused his ex-love, suddenly his superior, thanks to an impending company merger, which now accuses him of sexual harassment. To cover up and to frame him for incompetence in her cost-cutting measures, resulting in faulty products from his area of responsibility. The star-cast US thriller tells the same story as Crichton's same-named novel from the same year. Made 4 times its $55 million budget worldwide back and received mixed to positive feedback. At the time, despite the allegedly also revolutionary demonstration that men can also be victims of female power games, what a shock. I was neither a fan of the very good movie by Barry Levinson, see also Wag the Dog, in the Capricorn 1 special, nor of the book. Because the story itself just couldn't grab me, thanks to too many convenient coincidences. Like for example, the false accusation being solved by means of a random answering machine recording, since conveniently coincidentally dialing the wrong number. Then there's the matter of the faulty CD drives from the foreign factory. But they can secure evidence. A good friend there just happens to be exactly in the right place. There happens to be this new virtual system to enter the database despite the lockout. Sure. There is also a super convenient anonymous friend who constantly helps out, aka son of a well-meaning superior. Who knows about everything but doesn't do anything herself because otherwise there is no story. In the following year, primatologist Dr. Peter Elliott wants to bring gorilla Amy, whom he taught to speak using sign language and a computer-aided evaluation process, back to her home country, the shaken by constant unrest Congo. In Frank Marshall's same-named US fantasy adventure, a dubious businessman and communication scientist Dr. Karen Ross willingly cover the costs and hire Captain Monroe as their guide. They hope that Amy, thanks to dream images of a lost city that she constantly draws, will lead them to the ruins of an ancient civilization, which may contain special diamonds that Karen's ruthless boss Travis needs for the new powerful communication laser, for which he had already sent his son, Karen's ex-fiancé and main motivation, with a former now missing expedition. They fell victim to intelligent, aggressive grey gorillas, specially bred to protect the city, which in time drove even their creators to flee. Well cast except for the uncharismatic lead, this widely coupled together stupid action schlock was literally crucified by critics. Nevertheless, it made 3 times its $50 million budget worldwide back. Despite, or perhaps because of, the completely crazy plot, the fast-paced and the usual good practical Stan Winston effects, the movie is kind of entertaining with an extremely high trash value. But only if you don't know the original. If you do, it's a downright cheek and practically unwatchable, and all copies should be collected by law and buried deep in the jungle. It is more than loosely based on my favorite Crichton book, the fantastic same-named must-read adventure novel from 1980, which is much more detailed. There are several parties from different countries, such as Japan and Germany, who are constantly sabotaging the mission. It's written in the form of a fictional factual report, similar to the Andromeda strain, here over 13 days instead of 5. And where the diamonds are needed for new super-fast computers. There Monroe represents the Great White Hunter, a black captain in the movie, and there's also no crazy Tim Curry, aka dubious businessman with an unpronounceable name. No computer glove or Star Wars laser weapon. And Amy only communicates with silent sign language, which Dr. Elliot uses at the end to stop the grey gorillas from attacking. Most of them also behave completely contrary to their movie parts. Monroe, Ross and Elliot are nowhere near as sympathetic, nor is there any romantic tension as hinted in the movie. Dr. Ross, basically just a computer expert, not like in the movie Indiana Jane, tougher than diamonds, is driven by ambition, one of the reasons why the mission fails in the end. And Monroe has a bad reputation, but is indispensable thanks to his experience, and only acts to his advantage. All 3 main characters are very intelligent, quite one-dimensional, and don't care about others any more than necessary. And Travis, a ruthless tyrant in the movie, didn't send his son in the original, whose death he doesn't care about. Although he is also interested in success, the safety of his people is much more important to him, which is why he has to be persuaded to send Dr. Ross there in the first place, as she is too inexperienced in the field research, and not the other way around, as in the so-called adaptation. In the book, Elliot also at first flies back with the gorilla, but later travels there again, where Amy then teaches her baby sign language with other mountain gorillas in Zaire. In 2003, during excavations, archaeologists suddenly come across the glasses and a written document from the 14th century of their professor, stuck there thanks to a time machine, based on a collapsing wormhole that the US financial backer discovered by chance while developing a teleportation device. They decide, with markers and time window at 6 hours, to travel there as well to save him without destroying the timeline in the same named movie disaster.
I can't believe I still receive so much affection from your side. If you could give me one more chance, I'd love to turn the tide. I can't.
The completely miscast US adventure science fiction action flop made just half of its $80 million budget worldwide back, and rightly received mostly devastating reviews.
I'd love to turn the tide. I can't believe I still receive.
The characters, played by talentless B and C celebrities, hardly any of whom I knew at the time, sometimes deliver god-awful dialogue, often act completely illogically, and are so one-dimensional and pale that you don't give a shit about anyone. The group flies off without giving it much thought, disguise themselves and take bodyguards with them for protection, but not the usual weapons of the time, like at least a knife or something. Instead, one of the bodyguards, who are immediately killed off, seeks secretly has of all things a hand grenade? Did he perhaps confuse Monty Python's The Holy Grail with a documentary? Thanks to all unfortunate coincidences that ever happened, this leads to the destruction of the time machine, which is now being rebuilt under high pressure in the remaining hours. And from here until the final battle, the group is actually only on the run most of the time, is captured, frees itself and is again on the run. Timeline: The Missing Plot Line by Richard Donner, the original Omen, Superman and Lethal Weapon, is based extremely loosely, which means has virtually nothing in common with except the name.
I can't believe I still receive so much affection from your side. If you could give me one more chance, I'd love to turn the tide. Oh, I'd love to turn.
On Crichton's much more detailed, somewhat poorly constructed but still quite entertaining 1999 novel, which promotes the multiverse theory that a separate universe exists for every possible time and circumstance, or something like that. The movie completely omits this aspect and changes almost all the characters. Chris is actually just another student, not the professor's son. Merrick doesn't fall in love with the chick, he stays there because he loves the time period. Invents useless new ones for no reason, like the Frenchman, and on the other hand there are some missing. This also applies to the technical aids. In the original, everyone has to translate and communicate an electronic version of the Babelfish in their ears. The plot is completely different. They have 36 hours in the book, not just 6, and there is a completely different final. In addition, he gives away many interesting themes from the original by touching on them too briefly and then dropping them, like the increase in gene modification, transcription errors with each time travel, the influence of modern technology like Greek fire, etc. But of course adapts almost one-on-one the outrageous nonsense with the hand grenade, which already made no sense in the book.